with everyone. I've already done my ride with Allie Love this morning, so I'm good to go on my Peloton. Fortunately for us, we actually on campus have a gym in the back of our property, but I use the Peloton all the time, guys. It is such a great stress reliever. On really, really long Zooms, I'll just jump on my bike and turn off my video and ride.
That's great.
So it keeps me from gaining the COVID-15 is what I say.
I
Good
love
way
it.
to put it.
I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about the company. You were going into that.
Yeah, it's my passion. So Patrick and I started the company in 2006, and the name of the company was Fleet Financial. So it was a unique business model that I liken to a bow tie often. So on one side of the bow tie is direct to consumer, in the middle is Fleet Financial, and on the other side of the bow tie are all of our lenders, credit unions in particular. Credit unions crush everybody else when it comes to auto loans. As you know, they're not for profit. They have zero cost of funds. And so my biggest advice that you can walk away from today is, if you're going to go and do it on your own, go to a credit union, because they'll get you a better rate than you can find anywhere else. So back in the day when we were Fleet Financial, we worked with fleet managers and fleet management companies to process it's called a third-party transaction. I'm trying not to get too technical on you. But if you work for Kraft Foods and you have a company car, you get notification your car is about to come off lease. And so as a benefit for being an employee of Kraft Foods, you can purchase that company car. And it was great for the employees because they got their cars thousands of dollars back a book. And it was great for the companies because they got that asset off of their books, and they were able to not have to spend money on the auction and so forth. So everything was going great right until 2009. Which everybody was affected by, obviously. So fleet managers stopped, they just started running their cars into the ground. They wouldn't turn them in, and everybody stopped lending. So literally, Patrick and I, to keep the lights on, switched our business model to take advantage of low interest rates. So we started, we were in a small little used car dealership on South Broadway called Fitzgerald Automotive. Best day of my life, gentlemen, is when we closed those doors. It was a tough go. It was in a really seedy part of town, and if a car backfired, it was shots fired and you hit the ground. Like, it was that bad. So at any rate, we started to get one credit union, then another, and just really started to gain traction and momentum in 2011. So that's where we got this building, moved in, and started to really process a lot of loans. I'll never forget when Patrick told me, because it was box wine and ramen noodles for many, many years, you guys. He's like, Nancy, if we can just get to 40 loans, we're like home free. And of course, I often say about Patrick that he could sell ice cubes to Eskimos because he was such a salesman, and I believed him. And so of course now we're doing in excess of 1,500 to 1,700 loans a month, and still we don't have it made, you guys. But it's an exciting time for us. The tragedy of my story is that in 2014, Patrick was riding his bicycle home from work, and a distracted driver struck and killed him.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes, and my daughter was just 6 at the time, and my son was 4. The only good part of that was that for the previous 2 years, I'd been working shoulder to shoulder with Patrick. I'd given up my TV show, and I was the VP of marketing. And I was also still trying to breathe life into that fleet vehicle, business model that died a horrible, slow death. So I literally laid him to rest on a Sunday, and I took over the company on a Monday. This is actually Patrick's office. And I was the greenest CEO you've ever met. I didn't even know what P&L stood for. But I learned quickly. I often tell people that I got my MBA on the job, and it cost me millions of dollars. But I only make a mistake once, and I never make it again. So when I took over, I have a different kind of a leadership style than Patrick did, and I had to find the right people to sit at the table with me, right? To be those executives that I can lean on, and I'm so proud of the executive team that I put around me. I always use, I always tell them if I'm the smartest person at the table, we're screwed. Like, you all need to be experts in your departments and your fields. And so, for me, yeah, we're in such a good place 6 years later. And I know I get to brag about the company later, but 5 years in a row, best places to work, Better Business Bureau's Torch Award we were awarded, which is most ethical company in Colorado. And for an automotive finance company to get most ethical is a feather in our hat, right? Because
Absolutely.
Well,
it might never
sounds
happen
great.
again.
Sounds great. What an amazing story. And again, sorry for your loss. It looks like his memories are a blessing to you and many people that are impacted by it. Let's go right into the topic today.
Sure.
and learn a little bit more. You said you chose a topic, auto loans, your secret to savings, and then the answering or talking about the smart way to save thousands of interest that consumers don't know about.
Yes.
So what don't we don't know? What do we not know?
Okay, absolutely. There's been so many different studies done where everybody knows that they can refinance their mortgage, but 60% of Americans don't even realize that they can refinance their auto loans. And so just having that educational proponent to it is really important to us here at iLending Direct. If you go into a dealership and you're shopping payment, rather than really paying close attention to your interest rate, you could walk out with that $450 payment that you wanted, but you're paying 11% interest, right? And your FICO determines what your interest rate is. So if you've got a FICO that's, north of 680, there's no way you should be paying 11% interest on your auto loan. Many of my credit unions, if you've got great credit and you've got a pristine credit report, you can go down to as low as 1.99%. So folks who go into dealerships and shop payment, they really need to pay close attention to their interest rate. And a lot of folks too, life happens, right? So you're going through a divorce, you've had a medical issue, you've lost your job and got behind on your bills. And you would be shocked at how quickly your credit score or your FICO score will just plummet. And if you have to buy a car when you're sitting at a 550 or a 600, you're going to pay the most interest rate that's out there. And some states there is no limit, which is really sad. A lot of them, North Carolina, 34% is the top.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine paying 34%.
Wow.
If you're not looking at the paperwork, you could end up paying a third of your loan in interest and fees, right? Like 34%.
Wow.
You're exactly right. And some of these predatory title loan places, we've saved people $23,000 in interest alone on their loan because they were paying in the 80s. 89% interest on their auto loan because they were desperate.
So that's loan sharking, literally, right there.
Yeah,
exactly right.
crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that's exactly right.
And talk about 1.99% on one side and 80% or 34% on the other, right? The swing is just astronomical. And it's really a matter of, I guess, being aware and being educated. And I think that's what you're all about, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you took a poll of our audience right now, probably 90% of them would say they don't want to go into a dealership. They don't want to deal with the F&I guy. They don't want to deal with the salesman. So it's kind of like taking medicine. So people get in there and they get out as quick as they can. They just want to be done, right? So you just really have to pay close attention to what's going on with your auto loan. It's the second most expensive thing that you're going to buy in your lifetime, most likely.
That is correct.
Right?
After the house, right. I think the most money we spend is on our cars, right?
Yep.
Maybe medical insurance, but
right.
But cars are right up there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we are able to do for folks, because we've got 35-ish banks and credit unions on our platform. We shop for the best interest for you, the best, whether you need to extend your term because you just really need a $300 payment and you're okay with extending the term, or whether you need cash out of that car. So if you have equity in your car, you can cash out up to $10,000 and use that money to maybe pay your high interest credit card bills that are, 21% compound interest. We have a lot of different opportunities to help folks here. And our mission is to help everyone. So if we can't help you now because there's just really no company, no lender out there for you, then we'll keep you in our back pocket and we'll help you in 6 months. Because if you pay your bills as agreed and on time, your FICO can raise as much as 100 points in just 6 months. So you just have to be really diligent about the decisions you make and your finances.
And do you help customers in all the 50 United States?
We do. Yeah, we're national. So we're very blessed, based here in Denver, Colorado, but we're national. And with some of the non-credit unions are typically very conservative. So they won't go below like a 680, 640 if you're lucky. But now with these other banks and institutions that we have our platform, we can go down to a 510. So that gives almost everyone an opportunity to see if they can save some money there. And guys, it's simply interest. We also sell F&I products, right? So a vehicle service contract or a gap waiver. And on average with our customers, we save them $139 a month. And that's with a vehicle service contract and a gap waiver included in that loan. So on average, we're taking people down 6.67% in their interest rate.
I can use $139 of extra cash every month. Yeah,
they're throwing money at them, and that's money that they can use for their families and their kiddos. And I'm not sure if you have kids, but mine are expensive.
Are they all? Has anybody, unless you can somehow put them to work somewhere, right? Even though they're keeping the money.
How about with the mortgage? I know.
Help with the mortgage.
Well, during the agricultural age, we had a lot of kids. You could put them to work. That was different back then.
Now you got to feed them.
Exactly. It's interesting. I think it's unfair. A lot of banks charge high interest rate to the people who actually need it lower the most. Why is that? I'm curious. This seems like an upside down model. It's like the people who are struggling that actually need the break on a lower interest rate that could pay get this crazy, ridiculous high interest rates that then make it impossible to even afford a decent car.
Sure. It's the credit risk, right? And there's a big difference between someone who's going up, who has a 600 FICO score, and someone who has a 600 FICO score, but they're on their way down, right? And so they're taking the risk to lend to these folks. But I couldn't agree with you more. And a lot of different lenders are now going to, rather than just trust, because there's controversy there, right? Rather than just trust the credit bureaus, who I'm neutral. I'm Switzerland on this. That they're going to alternative data, which is super exciting, right? Because it's not just about what's happened to you in your life or a moment in your life. It's also a myriad of other elements that we can bring into the picture. So if I do, as a matter of fact, one of my credit unions, love them, do a ton of business with them. They don't care what your FICO score is. They don't care what your FICO score is, but you can't have had a recent repo or a bankruptcy. But I love the way that my industry is changing, in that it's not just black and white. It's not I'm a 750 or I'm a 680, because we all know that we're much more than that in our lives.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
And you might have one medical bill that went into collection, and then that just you had a life event, a divorce, or a job loss or something, and that just completely decimates your credit history, right?
Yeah.
Totally. And if you're 30 days behind and then you get to 60 days behind on more than one of your bills, it's going to decimate your FICO score, and it'll take a long time to dig back out of that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Let's talk about the product a little bit. How are you serving the consumer? Do you have a website, or is it through the dealership? How's the user experience? How are you serving it? How are you using technology to
Sure.
serve your clients?
Sure. So we have a very robust market, and so we're able to use a myriad of different channels. As antiquated as it's going to sound to you guys, we send people mail. And and they tend to open it. So we actually buy data from the credit bureau so that we will know exactly what your interest rate is. We know exactly how much you're paying a month, and then we do all the calculations with giving you a vehicle service contract and a gap waiver, and we know that we can still save you at least $75 a month. And so we send you a mailer. It's going to seem like creepy because we hey Joe, you're paying $500 a month right now. We can get you down to $350. And so we reach out to folks that way with mailers. We also have a huge digital presence on the internet, and as well as our website, of course, ilendingdirect.com. So pay-per-click and social media, and we've done national television commercials. We have dabbled in radio. Right now, my biggest push, though, and of course, there's the online aggregators like a Lending Tree. My biggest push, though, in 2020 is to create some strategic partnerships with some different companies out there to have an exclusive lead with them. So you go to get your oil changed, and when you leave, you see you've got an air freshener that says, "Hey, refinance your auto loan with iLending Direct, and your next oil change is on us." So we're creating loyalty programs for different companies across the country, and we're getting that great business. For us as well in 2020, a big push for us is to serve the underserved. So to serve the military who are underserved, to serve those who have lower FICO scores down to a 510, and to serve the Spanish-speaking population because they're grossly underserved. We don't even market specifically to Spanish-speaking, and we have more leads than we can even handle. So, that's been the push for, I'm trying to get out of my sunlight here. That's been a big push for us in 2020. And, we're up. I mean, I know that this is in your list of questions, but COVID morbidly has been just a record breaker for us because folks are all looking to save money. And when you refinance your auto loan, you skip a payment. So you can use that money for your mortgage, to pay off your credit card bills, what have you. And people were home. And so they were actually, well, here's some mail I would have tossed out. Maybe I'll open it.
COVID has been good for your company. Are you getting more incoming traffic? Are you getting more people engaging or lighting up your call center, if you will?
It's
refinancing, right?
Yeah, we've broken every company record we've ever held in the history of iLending Direct because people are like, maybe I wouldn't have, $75 might not be enough for someone to go through the process, but it really is very quick and easy. In 5 minutes, our loan consultants can take your information, shop your deal, find the best deal for you almost instantaneously. And so I know that if you've ever refinanced your mortgage, it's like, oh, one more document, one more thing I've got to do. This is taking forever, but we can get people done in a day.
Nice.
Great.
Sounds like if I refinanced every month for 12 months, I could skip a payment for 12 months, right?
The first guy will, but no one else will.
No, I hear you. Okay, when we first started the conversation, you said something about adapting to a different leadership style and bringing people around you that would work with how you work. Can you tell us a little bit about your company's culture? What is unique about it? What were you talking about when you said a different leadership style? Can you share a little bit more?
Yep, absolutely. Would love to. They call me the queen of culture here. And that's because we live and breathe our core values. I believe very strongly in servant leadership, but I also walk the walk and talk the talk. One of our core values, and I had a business coach tell me once, like, Nancy, you can't do that. And I'm like, it has to be. It was integrity was one of our core values, to always do the right thing, even when no one is looking, right? And he said, Nancy, that's a no-brainer. I'm like, dude, I'm in automotive and I'm in finance. It has to be on the walls. So family is one of our core values. Integrity is one of our core values. All in is one of our core values. And so I probably spend more time with my executive team than I unfortunately do my own family. And so we're there for each other. We joke and say, we fight like brothers and sisters, but we're also like blood to each other. And to every loan consultant, every title agent, every processor, accounting, we're all in this boat together and we're all rowing it together. When Patrick passed away, I really had two people, my SVP of ops and my SVP of sales, who picked me up off the ground and carried me until I could walk again. Right.
And talk about picking yourself up, right? You've not just picked yourself up. You've kind of really created your own legacy here, right? I mean, I just noted that you're one of the Colorado 100 Titans or whatever. You're truly a Titan, right? You represent and you embody that spirit, that strength, that brave mindset that you need to be able to not just run a business, but to create that winning culture. And I'm pretty sure that that's rubs off on the rest of your team. I cannot imagine that the rest of your company is all plain Jane, with you and your personality, your TV show, Miss Canada, and everything else that you have going on for you, right? I'm pretty sure the rest of the company kind of embodies that, right? In many ways, what I've always seen is that the culture is reflective of the founders and the CEO. And
from the top down, Ram. It has to come from the top down. And we work hard, play hard. We do say that, but if you out my door is the President's Club, and there's ping pong and pool tables and basketball and video games, and we. If you came here today, you'd think we're all crazy because we're all dressed up. But life is short. And it's really, really important. I learned that lesson probably harder and greater than most folks do at our age. But life is short, and you have to enjoy it, and you have to live it to the fullest. Patrick's life was a life well lived, and I'm determined to make my story not a tragedy, but a triumph. And I want to take all the people with me who surrounded me and supported me. And I want us all to be able to benefit from the hours and endless travel and hard work. And so, I wouldn't normally say this, but we bought a party bus. So so when we go to events, it's wrapped in iLending Direct. So it is a legitimate, marketing
company product. Okay. Sure, we'll buy that story.
We take our party bus to a lot of different events. We're loud and proud, but we have a lot of fun together, and there's no regrets there.
Well, congratulations. We're coming up on time. We wish you continued success. Maybe you'll trade in that party bus for a plane sometime in the near future. Anything is possible, right?
The iLending Direct colors and decals, right?
Right. Speaking of, foretelling a future of growth, what's next for you guys?
It's so exciting for us. There's so many different verticals that we're growing in right now because we have our own self-proprietary software. So we can add any kind of a loan. So we're going to push to do student loans. We're pushing to do auto insurance as well. We're doing medical loans. It's going to seem a little odd, but we're doing dental implant loans right now that we just stood up. So because our system is built from the ground up to service us, we can add anything on it, and scale is no issue for us. There's a lot of blue sky out there for iLending Direct, and the best is yet to come.
That's creative. I mean, the dental piece. You could get it's $40,000 to get your teeth redone. I mean, it's basically a car loan, right? Yeah. So, sounds like a good opportunity for growth,
because you can't really repo someone's teeth. I know that's terrible, but that's the truth. You can't.
Right. That's true. That's true. So
where that goes.
That would be an interesting repo. They can certainly try. But anyway, Nancy, it's been a pleasure to have you. Any last minute words of wisdom you'd like to share for anyone out there who might be on the fence about taking the bull by the horn, if you will, and taking a company forward and transforming it, even under dire circumstances. How do you go about picking yourself up to do that? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share for people who might have had a loss because of COVID in the past 8-9 months, who might be struggling to get themselves back up on the horse, if you will? What words of wisdom would you share with them?
You know, on my darkest days, I think that it's okay to like lay down and to cry the hard cries, the ugly cries. But the next day you've got to brush yourself off and pick yourself up, and you have to keep moving forward, because it is a blessing to be on this earth, and it's a blessing to be alive and healthy. You know, when Bella, she's my daughter, when she was 10 years old, she told me, she's like, Mama, she's an old soul. She said, Mama, choose your way. Don't find your way. Choose your way. And I thought that was the most brilliant advice I've ever been given.
That's amazing. The sages always say that the wisdom comes from the mouths of babes, of children. So great words of advice. Thanks for being with us. Just stay with us as we wrap up. I'd like to invite the rest of the audience watching to come back at 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to have another show today at 1 p.m. Pacific, and we have another one scheduled for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific as well. Please come back. See you shortly. Until then, stay safe.
And Nancy, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And well, we've had some technical difficulties getting this show off the ground. I appreciate your patience there, and thank you. You're truly an inspiration, and continue shining.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you having me.